Stop what you're doing, because NASCAR fans are arguing about one question after Nashville. Was Bubba Wallace the victim of terrible luck? Or is this becoming a much bigger problem for the entire 23XI racing team? Because after another disaster at Nashville Super Speedway, Bubba Wallace climbed from his wrecked race car looking completely defeated, and what happened next revealed just how frustrated he has become. 3 fast cars, 1 chain reaction crash, and another crushing result for a driver desperately trying to stop his season from slipping away. The official story sounds simple. Chris Buescher lost control, Bubba Wallace got collected, Byron got collected, Alex Bowman got collected. End of story. But NASCAR fans aren't buying that explanation so easily, because this wreck has sparked a huge debate. Who's actually responsible? Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar, or was Bubba simply in the wrong place at the worst possible time? Let's break it down. The chaos started on lap 205 during the final stage. The pressure was building, drivers were getting aggressive, track position was becoming everything, and that's when Carson Hocevar got close to Chris Buescher entering the corner. The contact looked minor, but at NASCAR speeds, minor mistakes become major disasters. Buescher's car snapped loose instantly, the rear end stepped out, and suddenly, the number 17 was completely out of control. Unfortunately for Bubba Wallace, he was directly in the firing line. There was nowhere to go, no escape route, no time to react. Buescher slammed into Bubba's Toyota and sent him hard into the outside wall. Then things got even worse. Byron arrived with nowhere to go and crashed into Bubba as well. The impact destroyed both cars, and moments later, Bubba's damaged machine slid back across the track and clipped Alex Bowman's Chevrolet. Just like that, 3 contenders were eliminated, 3 teams, 3 ruined nights, 1 wreck, and while fans were trying to figure out who caused it, Bubba Wallace was dealing with something much bigger. Because this wasn't just another crash. This was another crash during what has become a brutal stretch of races. And when Bubba spoke afterward, his comments told the entire story. He admitted he's exhausted, mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, frustrated with how everything keeps going wrong. He talked openly about how the disappointment follows him home after races, how it affects his mood, how it impacts the people around him. And honestly, it was one of the most real interviews we've seen from Bubba Wallace all season. There was no screaming, no finger-pointing, no dramatic accusations, just a driver who looked completely worn down. And that's what makes this story different, because fans aren't just talking about one wreck anymore, they're talking about a pattern. Every time Bubba starts building momentum, something seems to happen. A crash, a penalty, bad strategy, mechanical problems, bad timing, something. And Nashville became another painful example. Meanwhile, the irony of the entire situation is that Chris Buescher didn't even escape the night himself. After surviving the wreck and staying on the lead lap, Buescher later suffered a brake rotor failure. His race completely unraveled too, so even the driver involved in the original incident ended up paying a heavy price. But while all this chaos was unfolding behind them, the leaders kept racing, and that's where the contrast became impossible to ignore. Denny Hamlin drove away and won the race. Christopher Bell finished second. Chase Briscoe finished third. Joe Gibbs Racing celebrated. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace was standing in the garage, staring at another destroyed race car. Same race, same track, completely different outcomes. And now, the biggest question facing 23XI racing is simple. How much longer can this continue? Because talent has never been the issue. Speed has never been the issue. Bubba Wallace has proven he can compete with the best drivers in NASCAR. But results matter, points matter, momentum matters. And right now, it feels like every week something finds a way to go wrong. The most frustrating part: this wreck wasn't caused by Bubba. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't force the issue. He didn't lose control. He simply got caught in somebody else's disaster. And that's what makes Nashville hurt even more. Another opportunity gone. Another good car destroyed. Another week of frustration. And another reminder that in NASCAR, sometimes doing everything right still isn't enough. Now the question becomes, can Bubba Wallace finally break this streak of bad luck? Or is Nashville just another chapter in what is quickly becoming one of the most frustrating seasons of his career? We're about to find out. Something is happening to Bubba Wallace right now that NASCAR fans cannot stop arguing about. And after Texas Motor Speedway, the backlash just exploded because 1 minute, Bubba Wallace had a fast car, a legitimate top 10 car, a chance to finally build momentum in a season that desperately needs it. And the next, he's in the wall. His primary car is destroyed. NASCAR sends him to the rear. Fans are calling him overrated again. And suddenly, the entire weekend turns into another controversy surrounding the number 23 team. But here's where this story gets really interesting. Because depending on who you ask, Bubba Wallace either proved exactly why critics don't trust him, or he proved why 23X iRacing might actually be tougher than people realize. And honestly, both sides might be right. Because what happened at Texas was a complete roller coaster, a brutal crash in practice, a NASCAR penalty before the race even started, a backup car thrown together overnight, and then somehow Bubba Wallace drove from 37th all the way into the top 10. So was Texas a disaster, or one of Bubba's most impressive recovery drives of the season? That's what we're breaking down today, because this story is way bigger than one practice wreck. This is about pressure. This is about expectations, and this is about whether Bubba Wallace can finally become the consistent driver that 23X iRacing needs him to be. Let's get into it. Texas Motor Speedway is not a forgiving racetrack. Drivers will tell you that immediately. The place is fast, slick, aggressive, and one tiny mistake can destroy your entire weekend in seconds. And unfortunately for Bubba Wallace, that's exactly what happened. The scary part, before the crash, the number 23 Toyota actually looked fast, really fast. Wallace was showing strong speed in practice. The car looked planted, the lap times were competitive, and for a moment, it actually looked like Bubba might finally have the clean weekend he needed. Then everything went wrong. Entering turns 1 and 2, the rear of the car snapped loose. Bubba tried to save it, tried to correct it, tried to catch the slide before it got too far sideways. Too late. The car backed hard into the outside wall, and immediately the entire weekend changed. Because once 23X iRacing realized the damage was too severe, they had no choice. The backup car had to come out, and under NASCAR rules, that meant Bubba Wallace was officially sent to the rear of the field before the race even began. Some people looked at the crash and said, "Here we go again. Too many mistakes. Fast cars keep getting wasted. Tyler Reddick is carrying 23XI." And honestly, that criticism is not completely unfair, because Bubba Wallace is no longer the underdog rookie trying to survive in Cup. The expectations are different now. He drives for one of the strongest Toyota organizations in NASCAR. He's won races, made the playoffs, and now people expect consistency, not flashes, consistency. That's why this Texas wreck became such a huge talking point, because crashing in practice doesn't just damage the car, it damages the entire race strategy. Now the crew has to work overnight. Now qualifying is ruined. Now the pit stall selection is terrible. Now the driver has to fight traffic all afternoon. One mistake turns into 5 problems instantly. And yet this is where the story flips completely, because despite all the chaos, despite starting 37th, despite driving a backup car, Bubba Wallace fought all the way back to finish inside the top 10. And that changes everything, because now the conversation becomes a lot more complicated. Was the practice wreck bad? Absolutely. But was the recovery impressive? Without question. A lot of drivers would have mentally collapsed after Saturday. Instead, Bubba kept digging, lap after lap, restart after restart, traffic everywhere, and somehow the number 23 team salvaged the weekend. That's a huge deal, especially when you look at how badly this could have gone. Texas easily could have turned into another disaster, finish, another wreck, another terrible points day. Instead, Bubba Wallace quietly drove from near dead last to 9th place. That is not luck, that is speed, and honestly, it might have been one of the toughest drives of his season. But now comes the bigger question, can Bubba stop putting himself in these situations to begin with? Because that is what fans are really debating right now. Nobody doubts the speed anymore. The speed is there. The issue is execution. Can the number 23 team finally put together complete weekends without the drama? No practice crashes, no backup cars, no digging out of holes, no recovery missions, just clean races. Because championship-level teams don't survive on recoveries forever. Eventually, they have to stop creating the problems themselves. And that's why Texas feels so important for Bubba Wallace. Saturday showed the weakness. Sunday showed the fight. The moment Bubba Wallace finally started turning things around. And honestly, the next few weeks could decide which one it becomes. Bubba Wallace is at the center of a massive controversy right now. After one of the biggest wrecks at Talladega Super Speedway, drivers across NASCAR are speaking out, and not all of them are holding back. Some fans are blaming Bubba, some drivers are pointing fingers, and others are saying something even bigger. This crash wasn't just a mistake, it was inevitable, because what started as a typical Talladega race quickly turned into a disaster. 26 cars involved, smoke everywhere, a full-on parking lot on one of the fastest tracks in motorsports. And somehow Carson Hocevar survived it all and walked away with his first Cup Series win. But after the checkered flag, that's when the real story began. Because the drivers didn't just react to the crash, they exposed a much bigger problem. Now, to understand this wreck, you need the full picture. NASCAR tried to change things coming into Talladega. They stretched stage 1 to 98 laps, hoping to reduce fuel saving and create more aggressive racing later. On paper, it sounded good. In reality, Stage 1 turned into the same slow strategy game, drivers saving fuel, running below max pace, waiting. But then, Stage 2 hit, and everything flipped. The field went full throttle. The pack tightened, and within about 10 laps, the entire race exploded. Lap 115, Bubba Wallace is leading for 23x. I racing right behind him, Ross Chastain pushing hard, with Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano lined up in the draft. Then it happens, a massive push from behind Wallace's car snaps loose, slides up the track, clips Cole Custer, then shoots back down across traffic. And just like that, the Big One cars slamming into each other, debris flying. The race red-flagged championship contenders gone in seconds. Now here's where everything gets divided. Fans immediately said Bubba caused it. And, yeah, on replay, it looks that way. He was leading, he got turned, the wreck started with him. But the drivers, they didn't see it that simply. Because inside the cars, the story felt very different. Unstable handling, massive closing speeds, no margin for error,